Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Darshaun McAway. You're tuned in to Wow Podcast. By all means, go to wowpodcast.me. That's WOWPODCAST.me. Now, today we have a special guest. We have Doug Lawrence. He's here to talk to us about his latest book, You Are Not Alone. Mental Health Mentors Take the Journey with You. Doug, how are you doing?
Doing great, thank you. And thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So tell me, what is You Are Not Alone? What is that about?
So I did some research, and this goes back a little ways, but I did some research and I'm very heavily involved in the mentoring space. Like I have a couple certifications as a international mentor. And in my research, what I found was that there was a place in the mental health support structure for mentoring, where a mentor who obviously has some form of training can actually be part of that support structure for an individual who's dealing with mental health, mental well-being challenges.
Okay, so I got a chance to look at one of your videos that you did at a women's conference, and you had mentioned that you don't believe that stress is real. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Stress, yeah, and that's gotten me into trouble sometimes too, where I've said, well, it's a figment of your imagination, and actually it's not. Stress does take place, but it is something that we as individuals can manage. So we can manage stress, so we can manage the environment that causes stress. And in a lot of cases, it's a decision that we have to make ourselves on how we want to deal with those things. So you have your choice. You can manage the stress or it can manage you. And what I always suggest to people is, let's talk about what's a plan that we can put into place that's going to help mitigate the stress that you're dealing with today. And COVID, it was a perfect example of what that was all about.
Got you. Now, I've read an article. I did a little bit of research on you. I believe I read the article correctly. You have PTSD, correct?
Correct.
Okay. My question to that is, if you can answer it, what type of PTSD do you have, or is there no variation to it?
Now, my understanding is, and from a professional perspective, I don't feel I'm qualified to answer that, but I do know that there are two different types of post-traumatic stress based on the reading I've done and my involvement with support groups as well.
Got you. So I like to ask this question quite a bit, and I'm not too for sure if a lot of people really think about it, but what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh gosh. So for me, it's using the gift of mentoring to be able to make the world a better place to be.
That's a great answer. So with the mental health, does this fall in line with dementia and Alzheimer's, like how to maybe slow down that process? Is that what this is about?
That's part of it, because stress will accelerate dementia, Alzheimer's, all of those. It actually, in one hand, we say, there's no such thing as stress, but there is. And I know of from within my own family of how stress can come in a number of different ways, but how stress had accelerated the onset of dementia in one of my family members.
Got you. How do you define success?
For me, success is not so much about how I perceive it, but it's how others perceive their interaction with me. So for me, a success story would be working with somebody who is dealing with mental health challenges and seeing them take a change in a positive direction. And then having them, say, I couldn't have made that journey without you.
Right. Do you feel like you're successful?
I am, but I'm not as successful as I'd like to be.
Gotcha. So let's talk about your company, TalentC. Can you give me a little bit of information about TalentC?
I sure can. So TalentC was started in 2009, and it was as a result of me job coaching university students and helping them get secure employment in the workforce and stuff like that. And then what happened was that they encountered situations that they needed a mentor. And so they came to me, and I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time, but they came to me and said, this happened in the workforce. What should I do? And so I took them through a process. And what it ended up was they said, we can't afford to pay you, but I'm sure somebody could. And so I thought, well, let's take a look at see what's out there. And so that was the start of TalentC as a organization purely focused on mentoring, the training of mentors, and mentor certification.
Now, with the mentor aspect, is there a certain age group, or is this like kids maybe from like 18 through 25, or is it just everybody that's involved that's having issues?
It's for everybody. You can take the ideal situation, part of that legacy you talked about earlier, the question you asked was, where I want to see us go is that mentoring is in place in the family, in the community, and in the school, and then in the workforce itself as well. So in the corporate structure as well, so that it becomes a it becomes a culture of mentoring right from when you're born right through until you pass.
Okay, so when I think of mentoring, I think of consistently checking up on somebody all the time. Is that what it is? You're checking up on somebody, making sure they're doing exercises. What is it?
That's coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, in a broader sense. Mentoring is the definition is a two-way trusted relationship where both the mentor and the mentee are going to learn and grow together personally and professionally. So call it a team effort, for lack of a better choice of words, where two people move forward, they go on a journey. And that journey is, fueled by the mentoring process to be able to help them so that they can learn and grow personally and professionally. And the catch there is on the personal growth, because if we can't address any of the challenges that they're having personally, that's going to become obstacles or barriers to their career development.
Got you. So do you have any like speaking engagements coming up, or like has COVID kind of derailed some things for you and you're all about Zoom?
Yeah, most of it, like I did a speaking engagement for an organization in Ontario here not too long ago, and we had to go virtual just because it's not worth the risk of, and right about now, I'm not comfortable hopping on an aircraft either. So most of the stuff I'm doing is virtual, yes.
Got you. And this is book number what for you?
This one's 2, and the thoughts around what number 3 is going to be has already sort of been carved out, and we know what direction we're going to go with that.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about book number 1, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so book number 1 was The Gift of Mentoring. It came from, I was doing lots of mentoring and stuff, and I actually had some of my mentors and my colleagues who came to me and said, it's time, you need to write a book. And so I said, what am I going to write about? And they said, well, you've been writing all these great articles and posting them on your blog. Why don't you take a look at some of those and see if that gives you some motivation, some ideas? And so that's what I did, was I went through and I went, I could turn this stuff into a book. And so that's what I did. And so it's the concept or the theory behind the book is it's the basics, the fundamentals of mentoring 101, where, we talk about all the different things, the history of mentoring, the difference between coaching and mentoring. We talk about, a number of other things. And I introduced, I think it was 3 or 4 case studies that were actual real life cases that I had been involved in, and how we were able to help somebody that was, part of that story, how we were able to help them in being able to move forward simply by using the mentoring process.
Got you. So can you elaborate on book number 3 just a little bit? Can you give us a little teaser?
I will think of it from the aspect of, so we have COVID as a pandemic today. Think of mental health as a pandemic.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, let's tell everybody where they could find you. And by all means, take your time when you're giving out your social media or whatever type of contact information you want to do. I want to make sure everybody hears it nice and clear.
Yeah, no problem. So they can reach me through LinkedIn. So just do a search on LinkedIn for Doug Lawrence, and I should pop up, and you can reach me through there, just through the messaging service that it has. You can also, you can find me on Twitter as well. So just search on Doug Lawrence and you'll find me there as well. And a bit on Facebook. I don't do a lot on Facebook, but that's probably one of the other places that you can go to take a look. But the easiest way to get a hold of me is simply by shooting me an email. And my email address is doug.lawrence, that's LAWRENCE, at TalentC, so the word talent with the letter C on the end, .ca. And if you send me a message, I'm going to get back to you as quickly as I can. The other option you have is to use the contact me page on my website, which is www.talentc, so the word talent with the letter C on the end, .ca.
Got you. Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'm your host, Darshaun McAway. We're talking to author Doug Lawrence about his latest book, You Are Not Alone, Mental Health Mentors Take the Journey with You. Doug, I really appreciate you for stopping by Wow Podcast. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.